So we'll try to get to that. Now, before we get to Louisville and Cincinnati, and they play each other in 12 days and how awkward that's going to be, Deion Sanders to Colorado. I watched his press conference yesterday, his introduction. He's bringing that prime time, that swagger, a little arrogance. That's who he is, and also a little truth serum to a program that landed a guy that's going to give them unbelievable type of exposure. We'll have a writer on at 3:45 to discuss it. And he ends up at Colorado. I did not see that happening.
No, I just didn't think it was a fit for him just because of how bad they are. And look, it's going to be – I mean, he's going to get a ton of, big-time recruits, and he's going to, get guys in the portal. People are going to want to flood into Boulder to play for Colorado. Like, they'll be better talent-wise instantly, especially since he walked into the first team meeting with the team last night and said, I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Louis, basically saying, like, I don't need to know half of your names because you're not going to be here. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and hit the portal. But at least he's up front with them and very public about that. That staff's going to be interesting. Apparently, Willie Taggart's going to be on it. Maybe Tim Brewster as well. Other guys coming with him. He has made them relevant for the first time in a very long time in an overnight. So it'll be curious to see because, look, they don't technically have the money yet to pay him, but they know they're going to get it. They don't have the facilities at Colorado. Like, they are behind in a lot of things that he's still going to have to overcome by just saying, come and play for Deion. And ultimately, he's still going to be behind because at Jackson State, he can overcome it by just being Deion and being able to kind of flood Jackson State with kind of his income and some of those things. But now he has to compete with the other big boys. So while he will get better really quickly, how much better I think will be slowed by the fact that this is a different situation entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 3-run homer for Colorado. It'll be a grand slam if he actually goes and wins games, and I think that he will. How long that takes and to what degree, versus some of the bigger names in that conference, the Utahs and beyond that, I guess Oregon and Washington for the time being, and maybe for a while, and then we know USC and UCLA will be out in the next couple of years, so he won't have to see them for that long. But how he stands against those others, I think it'll be curious, how long that takes to get to that level. And with the transfer portal, it may not take as long as some people think. He obviously has a lot of connections. He's obviously a guy that a lot of people, player-wise look to and see as like the beacon of, their dreams. That's the guy they want to be in so many ways. The career they want to have in so many ways is what Deion Sanders was able to do, not only as a, professional athlete in 2 sports, but now as a coach as well. I mean, he's a guy that a lot of people look up to. A lot of people are inspired by, motivated by. I think you saw some of the reasons why in that meeting. It wasn't a good meeting for everybody in that room, but for some guys, I'm sure they're supercharged and ready to, get fired up and play for Deion, those that are still able to stick around. But he's going to bring Shedeur with him. He said, bring the quarterback with me, so Shedeur's coming. That's not a surprise. He mentioned like 10 other Jackson State guys. Travis Hunter's basically all but said, right, that he's going. He said that in a little live stream last night, that he's coming while he was watching the Deion press conference. So there's your big Jackson State 5-star that's probably coming with him amongst others. And I think it's fascinating. I did not think he would go to Colorado. I didn't really have in mind like what he was going to do. Like, we knew at some point he was probably going to take a step up. But just, would it be Colorado? Like, would that be the spot? And I didn't think it would be, just for a variety of reasons from, I didn't think he'd love the cold weather. I didn't think that he'd love a pack that's pretty uncertain. I didn't think that, of all the potential options that he had, that maybe that was going to be his best one. But I don't know what other options he had. Maybe it was, and clearly it probably was, because they answered the bell and they got him and they landed him. So good for Colorado. They swung big. Good for Deion, that he now gets to go up another level and prove his craft. And I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch.
Rick George, Deion Sanders said he met his match with Rick George, who was not going to let that thing off the hook. By the way, a couple of notes, and then we're going to get to some other college coaching. Behind us, there's a football. It's right behind me. Biscuits and Gravy brought it in. It's an autograph signed football with Dave Aranda's name on it. So thank you to Biscuits and Gravy for that. And, of course, there's a lot more to get to. Let's do this one. I text Chad Brendel earlier today, who covers Cincinnati football. I said, what has been the reaction to Scott Satterfield from Louisville going to Cincinnati? They play each other in 12 days in a bowl game. They're 90 miles apart. And he was like, Not much of a reaction. Some of you in the chat room thought that it might not have been the best fit, that they could have gotten better. I wonder what happens to Reuben Owens, the superstar running back from El Campo, who's committed to Louisville. What does he do? Not sure. But they play at Fenway Park in 12 days, and that might be it will be, not might be, has to be a very awkward moment.
Yeah, but the fans in Louisville, they're not going to send him any thank you cards or going away presents on the way out. They were mad at him from the time he tried to get that South Carolina job, and I think they figured he also probably called about Auburn too when it was open and he was there. So, it was clear he never really wanted to be there to me, and that, right away he was kind of.
Well, they didn't want him there either.
Well, I mean, after that, they didn't want him there.
So then he survives, and then he finally said, okay, you were going to fire me, so let me go find something else.
And look, it worked out for everybody. I just wonder, given his record at the P5 level so far, other than getting Reuben Owens, like Cincinnati is, in my opinion, until proven otherwise, taking a little bit of a step back. And not that Luke Fickell wasn't going to be a step back, or whoever that was, because Luke Fickell's an excellent coach, but I just maybe thought they'd swing a little bit deeper than Scott Satterfield.
I just don't know what they were going to swing with, towards. I mean, Brian Hartline, once he decided to take his name out, that would have been a splashy hire. That would have been a big name in college circles, certainly in the recruiting circles. And, if you're a wide receiver, your ears would have perked up whenever Cincinnati called with him at the helm. But, he decides to stay at Ohio State, and that totally makes sense with what they've got going on, what he's got going on right there. But, beyond that, of all the coaching searches of, all the schools, this one was kind of one of the weirder, quieter, uncertain ones. I don't feel like there was ever major candidates outside of Heartline that were really widely discussed. I don't feel like there was any any juicy details that emerged. I don't know, is very lackluster, quite frankly. And when Satterfield was announced, it was fitting because that was a very lackluster announcement, quite frankly. If I was a Cincinnati fan, I'd be very in the middle on this and very much in wait-and-see mode. But, yeah, it does feel a bit disappointing, quite frankly, that you go from Luke Fickell to Scott Satterfield, a guy who's old school, clearly is going to send you a thank you card for taking him off their hands, basically. Louisville's thank you, Cincy. Appreciate that. High five. So, I don't know. It's weird. That was not what I expected to see as far as a hire goes for them. I didn't think they were going to go grab Urban Meyer or anything along those lines. But, without any real set expectations, I still managed to be surprised here, and not in the best way. Hopefully he can make the best of that situation as they now gear up for Big 12 play. But, yeah, a little bit of a lackluster, impact, quite frankly.
Well, and Chad Brendel's text to me, meh. So we'll